Respected dear family members, my pranams to you. Today we will be discussing about the ancient Indian approach to science and technology. A series of explanations on how India lived for the last many millennia. Remember that for the last 10-20 years, the archaeological survey studies conducted all over India have proved that the oldest copper, brass, bronze, etc. were excavated from Kalibangan, Bhagavanpura, Mehergarh, Chinchudaro, and like that more than 1,000 locations all over India. And these artifacts, some of which were as old as 10,000 years. That means they were produced around BC 8000. This shows that the scientific and technological heritage of India could be extended to 10 millennia. 10 millennia divided by 20, about 500 generations. So India is the oldest country where scientific and technological knowledge existed for the last many millennia. If you are calculating the date of the so-called mythological figure Adam and Eve from the New Testament of Bible, you can see that Adam and Eve were born, whether produced or born, around 4000 BC. So nobody in the world, whether it is scientists, archaeologists, or technologists, or metallurgists, nobody in the world wanted to give the credit for Indian civilization, Indian culture and Indian heritage knowledge beyond 4000 BC, because it will be against Bible. Why it will be against Bible? Because the first human being was born in this globe earth around 4000 BC. So if somebody tells that artifacts of copper, brass and bronze, which are never available in that form in the nature, so automatically it has been proved that when they are all created by human beings, and these artifacts were produced around 10,000 years, means it is against biblical thought, so that no Western Christian archaeologist or scientist approved the science of Indian history extending far backwards up to 8000 BC. So it was proved that by the Western scholars, using the primitive idea they had about Bible and using their primitive archaeological assumptions that these Indian culture and heritage is the oldest, but still it is after Adam and Eve, it is after 4000 BC, it is around 1500 BC or 500 AD and so on, in between 500 AD and 500 BC. But Indian heritage and Indian scientific and technological knowledge present in India with all the proof can be taken back for not less than 10,000 years. So India is the country where the spirituality and the science could be integrated. So remember that in Ishavasya Upanishad, the message given in Yajurveda, it is told Vidyam cha avidyam cha estat veda vayam saha avidyaya mrityam tirtva vidyaya mritam asnute. Perhaps the 9th mantra of Ishavasya Upanishad, what I chanted now, informs you that the experiential spiritual knowledge and experimental scientific knowledge are the two branches of knowledge which motivates, which guides the human race. One is experiential spiritual knowledge, the other one experimental scientific knowledge. Experiential spiritual knowledge is known as Vidya, experimentable scientific knowledge is known as Avidya in the Vedic language. So, our rishis told us that Avidyaya mrityam tirtva, use the scientific knowledge for overcoming the problems in our day-to-day life. Avidyaya mrityam tirtva. That means using the scientific knowledge, you can overcome the problems in our day-to-day life. And Vidyaya mritam asnute, use the spiritual knowledge for attaining the immortality or permanent peace. So these two branches of knowledge existed in India and they were complementing each other. Unlike the Western system, they were never contradictory. The science was never moving, the scientists were never moving against the spirituality or religion in India. So remember that India is the only country where science never stood opposing the spirituality or the reverse. That is what is told in Bhagavad Gita also. Jnanam vijnana sahidam yat jnatva mukhyate ashubhat. Even the spiritual knowledge should be learned with the support of scientific knowledge so that we can overcome the superstition in the day-to-day life. Jnanam vijnana sahidam yat jnatva mukhyate ashubhat. The spiritual knowledge should be learned with the support of the scientific knowledge so that there will not be any superstition. So, as far as Albert Einstein is concerned, he quoted the line, the science without religion is blind, or lame, religion without science is blind. So remember, Albert Einstein, who carried with him the Bhagavad Gita for the last 10 years of his life, he quoted the line from Bhagavad Gita and said that science and spirituality should integrate in the modern life. And unlike in Britain and other countries, the scientists were treated as the people who were against the Bible, against the God. So they were not even allowed to think freely, whereas in India, the science is part of the spirituality and spirituality is part of science. And also remember that the Vedas, Rigveda, Yajurveda, Samaveda and Atharva Veda, these are all the spiritual textbooks. These are all the spiritual textbooks. They are known as Veda. Whereas scientific textbooks are there. They are also known as Veda. Say for example, the science of archery. Science of archery is known as Dhanurveda. The science of music, Gandharva Veda. The science of health, Ayurveda. The science of civil engineering, known as Stapatya Veda. So the spiritual books were known as Vedas. Exactly like that, the scientific books were also known as Vedas. Now the spiritual scholars were known as Rishis. The scientific scholars were also known as Rishis. So remember, Rigveda was composed mainly by the Rishis of Vishwamitra Kula. Vishwamitra Rishi, Kanva Rishi, Agastya Maharshi, Vedavyasa Maharshi, Vasishta Maharshi, and so on. Whereas scientific books were created by the scholars who were also known as Rishis. Charaka Maharshi, who wrote Ayurveda. Sushruta Maharshi, Charaka Maharshi, Kanada Maharshi, who propounded the atomic theory. Bharadwaja Maharshi. Bharadwaja Maharshi who composed the Yantra Sarvaswam. So remember that the Vedas means spiritual literature and also scientific literature. Rishi means Vedic scholars and also the scientific scholars. And remember, Vidya means the spiritual knowledge, Avidya means the scientific knowledge. So in India, we can see that the science and spirituality coexisted for the last many millennia. You can see that all the temples were constructed based on Stapatya Veda. Pure civil engineering could be applied in constructing the huge temples and gopurams of the temples. If you are going through the Padmanabha Swami temple inside and outside, you can see the granite work that is demonstrated there. And if you are going through Madhura Meenakshi temple or Sujindran temple or Chidambaram temple or Kumbakonam temple, you can see that each and every part of the temple has been created, constructed or brought up or built using the marvelous civil engineering, technology and design. Not only that, exactly the cement and surki utilized for building those temples, they could even withstand the many centuries, thousands of years, still remaining intact. So not only the civil engineering designing background, but also the materials produced for building the huge structures could remain intact even today. So our civil engineering marvel and Delhi iron pillar, if you are going through that one, you can see that created during 50 BC, about 30 pounds of iron cylindrical mass forged welded together 2000 years ago, and that Delhi iron pillar is not yet rusted, even though Madura refinery ejects sulfur dioxide and sulfur dioxide continuously for the last many decades, 24 hours. So the sulfur trioxide and sulfur dioxide with the moisture present in the air automatically get converted into sulfuric acid, did not rust the Delhi iron pillar. So our scientific knowledge and our technological knowledge remain marvelous. Our lecture will be continuing about the scientific and technological heritage of India. Thank you very much. My pranams to you.